Alright, welcome back to StarCraft. Well, I guess that's kind of obvious, but most importantly, welcome back to the Acer Team Story Cup. Now, guys, as per yesterday's requests, I've tried to maintain the hotkeys down here at the bottom for now. Again, if this becomes problematic for anyone, let me know, and I'll get rid of them right away. But, as you can see at all times at the top right, we got the scoreboard set up for the Acer Team Story Cup, and it is 1-0 currently in the favor of Team Liquid. We'll talk more about that in just a second, but we got to introduce these players first. Spawning here in the 6 o'clock spawn location, playing for Quantic Gaming, stealing the color blue, it is Gamja, whose name means potato. Potato! And going from 6 to midnight, playing for Team Liquid in the upper spawn location. He's red, he's Terran, and he's best known for his name, Taeja. And of course, let's not forget our third contender in the ring down here in the southern part of the map. It is, frozen in ice, the Lich King! Favorite Easter egg of all time. Alright, so there's a couple things for Taeja to worry about before we get into anything here, and this fact that this is a pretty short rush distance map. Polar Knight's not exactly the shortest, but it's a quick beeline from one base to another. Going for some sort of crazy bust, if Gamja were to do so, might be something that catches Taeja off guard if Taeja were going to go with the Hellion Banshee opening again, but I really feel a large part of him going for that was playing into the way Hyun plays. Now, Gamja is actually a player that maybe Taeja's not actually seen before. Maybe this is actually, to him, an unknown Zerg player, and Gamja's actually pretty darn good. He's not bad. He's done a couple show matches in North America, and he's basically represented Quantic several times in the Acer Team Story Cup. If you guys are... because I see it popped up several times in the chat, now I'll just address this real quick. Zombie Grub will be joining me later today for the Kaspersky King of the Hill Arena, but unfortunately, the Acer Team Story Cup is a little too early today. But don't worry, if you like Zombie Grub, she will be back later today. But that's the last I'll say about that for now. Gamja is gonna... I really hope, like... There's so many people like Nurture who say, like, oh, you know, people overanalyze who comes out next in these sort of clan wars. It's usually just random, whatever, what have you. But in this sort of scenario... I mean, and that's the truth a lot of the time. We as casters try and make it seem like it's more than there really is. But today, above all other days, I really hope and consider the fact that Quantic Gaming is watching these matches just so that they know, like, who... Because they just need to stop the all-kill from Team Liquid, right? Like, that's their goal today. They can still qualify. Of course, I said that they couldn't earlier today, but that was mistaken. That was wrong information that I was fed. But... most importantly, stopping Team Liquid gives them a better chance to be in that playoff situation. And, unfortunately, there's one team here today, or not here today, but Mouse Sports, just rooting for the demise of both of these teams. Like, Reaper actually getting up here, we'll talk more about that later. Gonna try and run away from these lings. Of course, you can kite lings off creep, no problem without speed, but on creep, as we see, just a little bit too quick. Oh! First blood. Almost missed it. My mistake. Yeah, so Gamja didn't make the additional 2 lings that typically go across the map from the natural. Instead, put them in the main. So, 2 lings down, 8 lings currently in total. This Reaper, actually, this is an overinvestment in defense, in my opinion. Because typically, what you want to see happen is the queens eventually will be enough to deal with this, especially because he's making additional queens. 4 Zerglings at home will not exactly stop Reapers outright, but they'll keep them from killing drones. And you make 2 Zerglings from your natural base, send them over to your opponent's natural, because you know they're building a command center behind this, but that did not happen, sadly. Taeja knocking down the rocks. Kind of annoying too. I don't know, you guys have probably seen, there's been those games out there where actually these plates can win and lose you a fight because you accidentally stutter step and click on top of them, but looks like he will be going with the Hellion Banshee opening once again. This was something that you saw almost every Terran do in Wings of Liberty, like 90% of the time, but it fell off in Heart of the Swarm a big part because of how good Widow Mines were. Getting them out earlier was a bigger deal. Due to the recent patch in StarCraft 2, of course, Widow Mines were changed, nerfed, or buffed, depending on your point of view, but this has kind of given way to bring the Banshees back, and I actually really like this, because Hellions and Reapers were common enough as is, you know, 2 Reapers, 6 Hellions, but when you pair a Banshee with them, suddenly the Queens can only... they go from, like, barely able to trade to, like, just getting destroyed. And, of course, if he goes as far as investing in Cloak, you can get into the mineral lines, and you can wreak havoc, because whether it's getting a Spore Crawler down or whether it's trying to go for that quick layer, one way or another, detection is not the easiest thing to get out. It's kind of always a panic result, if nothing else, but... Lings, or sorry, not Lings, but Hellions gonna claim the Watch Towers for now, clearing them both out, making sure there's no Lings sitting at either. I hate Polar Knight's layout. Polar Knight and Belshire, by the way, have the worst actual, like, visual terrain for walling off. But okay, gets on top of the third, sees it's building. Will not kill this anytime soon. Because unfortunately, Hellions, while they're good against Lings, are not so good against buildings. There are 4 queens, and actually a spine crawler is being repositioned, but there's not enough creep on the ground here. Alright. Well, Queen's gonna be chased back. Here comes that Banshee, and it's the Banshee that's the biggest threat here. There is a transfuse available. Pops it off. There's another transfuse available if he needs to, but Gamja does not quite get that Hellion. 6 health. It does escape. Spinecrawler roots itself. So now actually this base not really in the same amount of danger it was moments ago. But no cloak was invested in this. This is just the raw Banshee. So the firepower coming from this aerial beast is all that Taeja's really relying on for this. He's not looking to go kill a lot of economic damage. If he can squeeze in there, you bet your ass he will. But with the wall off up, Spore Crawler coming down, at each base even, there's just no way he's getting in there. Quick, not quick actually, this is probably pretty standard layer timing, but not enough gases to really mass produce Mutalisks at the moment. So coming into the layer tech a little bit shy in that regard, now putting down his 4th geyser. Of course, the problem with the way you play Zerg is it's not like Terran. Terran relies so heavily on Marines, and Marines only cost minerals, which makes them a little bit cheaper, a little bit more effective to throw away compared to units like Banelings, which take gas, Mutalisks, which take gas, but that's a race problem, I guess. So much more than a map problem, because Gamja is having some trouble getting some creep spread out. Gonna absolutely need to make sure he's got this available. Creep is almost like a 3rd resource to Zerg players, not because of the vision. I mean, the vision is good. No one will ever complain about the vision that Creep gives as far as Zerg players go, but it's about the speed bonus you get. Banelings with centrifugal hooks outrun Stim Marines on Creep, but not off of Creep. And side note, it's polar night, it's snowing, and apparently it's snowing outside too. Hashtag Canada problems. It's so damn cold, and I'm feeling like I'm right here on the map with these guys. But okay, 1-1 on the way. We got a lot of Banelings coming in here, but this is more of like a deterrent amount of Banelings since it's not going to be an aggressive amount of Banelings. Spine Claws will help keep this on the way. So will these 3 queens. So nice control to Gamja. Just going to keep poking around to keep everything out of the base. Banshee is thwarted backwards by Taeja, or sorry, by Gamja. So Taeja, between the Spore Claw and this queen, will not get a lot done. But now we got the Medivacs. Now we actually have the follow-up push of a lot of Marines. The Hellions were kept alive too, which is really important. Losing 1, not the biggest deal, but having 4 available, that's enough to do a lot of AoE damage to even if all they do here is soak up the Banelings, more power to them, because that leaves the bio uncontested, and they will soak up these Banelings. Gets a good volley off, but half the Hellions actually die before they shoot. Taeja lifted up about half of that army, but man, the Banelings are going to be picked up by this Banshee as they try and counterattack. A couple Lings get into the mineral line of Taeja, and lots of Lings coming to swarm afterwards. There's actually not a lot here just yet, but as Taeja comes in from behind, he's got this medevac. This squad will actually pick off the Banelings, or at least soak the Banelings. Picks up and gets on out of there. 3rd base was evacuated, so not too many workers were actually killed. A little bit annoying for Taeja, but hey, nothing big as far as losses goes. Already transferring the SUVs back. I love that he's continuing to focus the Banelings from this too. The Lings or whatever. You can kill Lings. Oh, that Banshee unfortunately went down. 14 kills on it. What a hero. I salute you, madam. But yeah, so keeping a lot of the workers alive there is big. If the Banelings had been able to roll in, if they had killed off like 20 workers, SCVs, that would have been pretty hard for Taeja to deal with. But as we see, 60 workers to 58, 62 to 58 now. Bio in the middle of the map, not in a whole lot of danger. Can't pick up, should pick up, does pick up, and backs away from this Watchtower fight. But again, Gamja sneaks some Lings into the mineral line. He's not devastating his opponent with his damage, but he's getting damage done. Nice Baneling connects behind the mineral lines. That last Baneling was a bit of a dud, but resources lost. Yeah, you're always going to look behind. I mean, if you're playing it right as a Zerg player, technically you're going to come out behind every time because you don't have Mutalisks yet. You're forced to trade the throwaway units like Banelings, but Spire now on the way. He had this layer up so quick. I mean, it was for the 2-2s before anything else, but he really needed to get those Mutalisks out because as we saw in Game 1, and now we're seeing it repeat itself in Game 2, when the Banelings come in, Taeja just lifts off because there's no threat to those Medivacs. If the Mutalisks were looming over top of this, he wouldn't be able to freely pick up these units and keep them alive again and again and again. Queen's going to be focused down here immediately. There is simply not enough Banelings to clean up this Bioforce, and there's some Lings up here ready to strike into the 3rd base of Taeja. Oh, not even Lings. He's making Banelings. He's going to make sure work gets done. Baneling actually, Widowmine hit gets a pretty good chunk there, but here we go. How much damage? Oh, the SCV kills are going to devastate that 3rd base. So it goes from like 4 kills to like 25. Actually, I think it was like 7 before, but either way, gets a good 20-something kills there. Baneling's going to roll in, but again, The Mutalisk! There's no Mutalisk! There's no threat! Taeja just gets away unscathed, unpunished! And this is a big problem with delaying your Mutalisks for so long, because these engagements are costing Gamja every single time. It's not so much that he wouldn't have this many resources lost, but Taeja would have more resources lost. Alright, well, coming in here for another attack. Taeja always keeping up with the pressure. Widowmine hits are pretty good, but now they're on cooldown. Bailey's forced back, and the bio is just left so unscathed. The Mutalisks are now coming out, but perhaps a little bit too much dedication into the Banelings and to the Zerglings, because there's actually not a lot of gas. The reason Gamja's not making like 20 Mutalisks right now is he simply cannot afford it. Oh well, backing up for the time being. Gamja forced to play off 3 bases for now, but that's okay. I would almost love if he would go out of his way to take this base back here. Not a lot of players do because of how long it takes to knock down those rocks, but would be a little bit safer than over here because Gamja, man, you're not going to hold that base versus Taeja, and if you do, then your 3rd base is going to suffer for it. But not out of the game yet, guys. Gamja is severely behind in supply, but now he finally has that 3rd element, Element X, available in the form of Mutalisk, something he's lacked and absolutely needed desperately up to this point. Zergling's going to circle around, try and check for extra bases. Baneling's not going to be afforded that same opportunity as before. Taeja saw this one coming, pulls everything immediately, and of course the Widowmines, they didn't contribute much to this, but confirms there's no 4th base for the time being, so Gamja's going to be feeling a little bit better. I mean, he knows he's behind, but he's not so far behind that he's out of the game. But another big push is coming, and this might put him out of the game if he can't defend this. It's not, again, it's not about this base, but it's just the sheer army value. Mutalisks are going to come in this time and get on top of these medevacs, but there's so many Marines and Gamja's engaging on top of them with no Banelings support underneath, trying to morph in some more, but it's not going to be here in time, and if it is, these Marines, there's no Widowmines, but Taeja can just split. He's actually not going to split. Take some pretty big hits with those Banelings, and this is what Gamja really needed. He may not have kept that base. In fact, he lost that base. I don't believe it was a cancel, but hey, finally a good army trade in his favor. But when we look at the resources lost, doesn't exactly say good things. Has to throw away so many Banelings, and without the ability to pursue the medevacs, without those Mutalisks killing any of these medevacs off, it doesn't matter. Again, Terran, they can throw away bio all day. Non-stop, every day, any day. Alright, pushing through the middle of the map again with this army that was left unkilled. I mean, so much damage went out for Gamja, but it cost him so dearly. He's got more Banelings morph again. A little bit of a harassment move here going into the natural. There's actually no anti-air. This could be really good for Gamja if this pulls Taeja back, and this will actually pull Taeja back. Alright, Gamja making it happen, up to 37 workers killed. Lost a couple Mutalisks for this, but I mean, it was only 1, so not even a couple. I take that back. Terminology. Phrasing. But 3rd base has nothing here to defend it. There's a lot of Banelings, but again, even if he trades out efficiently with these Banelings, he's gonna come out behind. But coming in from all angles, swooping into this one concave on the ramp, has to be so careful. There are not a lot of Widowmines, but there are some. And those Mutalisks are, they've come back home. Oh, Overseer goes down. That's actually a bit devastating. He's got 4 more though, so that's okay. Alright, here comes the fight. Widowmine goes off, but not on the Banelings, allowing the Banelings to get underneath this. The Mutalisks can engage this army, but decides to back off. He knows he's not fighting on creep. And of course, fighting on creep is the biggest asset of Gamja right now. That speed bonus is everything. But Taeja is now on 3-3, folks. He's got Thors coming out to deal with these Mutalisks. He's got Marauders here to soak the Banelings. And there's just so many Marines that the damage is insane. Right now, if Gamja had that 4th base in the back, I mean, it's going down now, but I kind of wish he would have taken this like 3 bases ago. You know, he keeps losing that 4th he was trying to take up here, but if he can get this up and running, he'll be in a much better spot than he currently is. Mutalisks, unfortunately, going to get caught on top of the Marines, on top of the Drill Claws, as the Widowmines bro instantaneously, Gamja! 9 Mutalisks down at this point. Needs every single one of them. Banelings trying to collide into that bunker, but doesn't even burn down. Taeja with a quick repair. Gamja's making some pretty cool moves, I gotta say. Going for the side swipes, you know, going around the north part, wrapping around to the side, going in from the east half of the map. But either way, now forced to engage on top of Marauders and Thors. These Banelings will never touch this bio. And, oh man, Taeja loses 1 Thor through this. Actually, now those Banelings, which shouldn't have killed any of this bio, actually eradicate the bio. But rather than pushing the issue, why does Gamja withdraw? There's only 3 Marines, 2 Widowmines. These Mutalisks can contend with that easily. Oh man, Gamja! Perhaps a little too scared at this point for these terrible engagements, but finally gets one good one and doesn't doesn't capitalize on it. Now with these Widow Mines burrowed, what's this here? One Marine is chasing off Zerglings and a Queen apparently. Talk about a hero Marine. All right, now it's gonna get killed, but all right, Mules have to be careful. They can no longer like clump up. You have to magic box on top of the Thor. What you guys, if you don't know what the term magic boxing means, it basically means don't freaking clump. Because between the Widow Mines and this Thor, there's a lot of anti-air splash damage. But still clumping nonetheless. Gamja, man, you gotta be careful. Beautiful pickup on that Thor. Not that it was necessary, but some clutch stuff nonetheless in this third base. Under so much pressure, Gamja just wanted to make a lot of drones for this base. He's got 14 up, but he's not gonna take those gases anytime soon. He's gonna have to transfer from the main if he wants to do that. But so much pressure, not even a second to breathe for myself, much less Gamja. As Taeja pushes in once again, lots of Banelings rolling in from the sides. Thor does go down, and that alleviates a lot of the pressure for these Mutalists, but there's so many Marines still standing. Banelings are just not enough, and the resources lost are reflecting that pretty harshly. Coming in here for another engagement, there's actually not a lot of medevac energy on these medevacs, so this stimmed bio can't get healed up. One or two Baneling connects could win him an engagement, but backs up. Meanwhile, Ling run by here to the fourth. Planetary's almost done, but not quite yet. All of these fresh mules driven off. This is actually a huge resource loss for the time being, but he kept a lot of them alive playing Ring Around the Rosie, so no much worse for wear for the time being. Gamja could head over there with the Mules right now and try and knock this down, but if he does, he will have to yield this third base. Nowhere close to Hive Tech. Infestation Pit just finishing up. He might move on Hive if he can after this, but he is so far in the hole, there's no way he affords Ultralisks off of this, much less 3-3. And Taeja gets here to press the issue. Banelings are getting some decent connects, but that's the problem. Decent connects won't cut it. Mutalists are going to wrap around to this base. He may knock down this Planetary, but it's not going to be worth it. There's no value to this if he loses his own third, but Taeja actually, I guess while we looked away for a second, took a pretty big Baneling hit. And as we see here, cleans up a good chunk of the Widow Mines too. But now the Mutalist being thrown away for nothing. He's not going to get the Planetary in the end. Loses. He had 9 losses before, up to 21 now. Mutalists have gone down in spades since earlier this game, and he's not been remaking them. Only just now putting 3 more out available, but this Planetary holds. Taeja will probably have missile turrets down for the next time. Widow Mine hit goes off. A nice pickup out of Taeja actually keeps any splash damage from going off on those Marines. But Gamja finally getting some wiggle room. Comes here, takes a big Widow Mine hit though, and those Zerglings go down like they're nothing. Has to be so careful, but beautiful detonations on top of those 2 Widow Mines. Oh my god, guys. Insane drop down here to the southeast, or sorry, southwest corner of the map. There's nothing here to defend, and these drones are actually getting corralled into their own death. Mutalists are coming in one at a time, but you don't send Mutalists versus Marines. Not like this. Drop gets picked off, but not before killing more workers. Oh, the economic damage down in this game. I'm surprised it hasn't been more. I'm surprised it hasn't been bigger, but Gamja, man, really in some trouble. Has never really been able to get up to that 100 supply limit. Has never been able to catch up, much less overtake Taeja in supply. And because of this, he's just kind of constantly on this situation where he's on the back burner. Looks like we had a bit of a hit try and go off there as Taeja was trying to push through the natural. Thors are still standing, and these are really important units. Again, they do a lot of damage to the Mutalists, which is cool, but they soak Baneling hits so well. Picks up the Thor, though, knows it's an expensive unit, keeps it alive. Taeja actually forces Gamja to disengage. Gamja takes the other watchtower for the time being, but both players on 4 base. Gamja without these extra geysers, though. Not that he's even going to have the minerals, much less the gas to go for anything off of Hive Tech. Still no Hive, just now starting. Let's keep in mind, guys, the Infestation Pit finished like 2 minutes ago. That's how focused Gamja's been on defense and making units, but he chooses to move out at a very inopportune time versus a Planetary Fortress as Taeja comes in and cleans up that 3rd base, finally takes it down after a very long tug-of-war. But half of these Zerglings are going to die before they can connect. They get a lot of good Baneling connections to these SCVs, but is it good enough? Planetary looks like it's going to go down. Maybe he loses a lot of SCVs, but trading out his base for it. You could call it a bit of a base trade, but with 74 workers killed in the end, Gamja still can't quite cut it. Taeja will take game number 2 and stay alive for Team Liquid, more importantly. Again, if you're just tuning in and you don't understand the context of this... Oh, why didn't that update? Hang on. There we go, too. Taeja has to all-kill today. If Taeja does not all-kill, Team Liquid does not make it to the playoffs. So now up to 2-0 at this point. Can Quantic send out someone again? They have to wait until they're on match point, till the 5th loss, so to speak, before they can bring back Hyun. I'm calling Venus. We'll see who they send out. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in a sec.